Okay, so it is painting day. We are finally at the point where we can start priming the inside of the camper. You can probably tell by the way I look that we have already been out here for a little while working on the camper. It's 97 degrees out today, and whew, but we've been trying to get things prepped. I don't know if we mentioned, but we ended up having to order one more sheet of aluminum that came in earlier this week, and Wade finished up this section. He's been riveting and just cutting some edges around the windows. We're not going to trim the windows just yet. I'm going to start priming in just a second while he continues to go further through the camper and put more rivets where they need to be. I did prime the frame that we're going to frame the windows with, but we're going to have to cut that down. We just thought it would be nice to prime it with a couple of coats before we put it inside. So we will have it up before we do that final touch of paint, but in this vlog you're going to see us painting. This right here is not going to be what it looks like when we're finished. It's kind of dark, and that was my feet sloshing around. It's absolutely disgusting in here, so I'm going to try to not film that much, but we're going to be filming over the next couple of days. I don't know how long it's going to stay this hot, but we're going to try to get some work done. So priming now while Wade finishes up riveting and just getting everything cleaned up. It's day 2 of painting. We were so hot and exhausted by the end of it yesterday that we didn't even do like a recap or anything. So that is what I'm going to do before I actually start painting this morning. We've gotten out here pretty early. I just got done with a super long run. So while I was doing that, Wade ended up finishing the rivets. So he ran out of rivets yesterday, and had to go to the store this morning and do that. So I did not finish the first coat on the full camper. I did not get this centerpiece right here done, and then that last end cap situation. Did not do that part, but everything else is primed on its first coat, and we did tape off these lights right here so they're nice and cozy. And then Wade has went through the electrical area close to the end cap that I did not do yesterday, and make sure that it didn't get any splatters on it when I go to do that first coat. So what we plan on doing today is to get that first coat on the centerpiece and that end cap that I did not do yesterday, and then go in with a second coat for the whole thing as well. The way things are looking, we are not sure if we're going to need 2 coats or 3 coats, so we'll just have to see after it dries today. But the way that it looks after, like in spots I've overlapped, it looks so nice and good that 2 coats may be all that we needed. I did want to show you guys what we used because we were up in the air. We had to do a lot of research and everybody said something different. So I just wanted to mention what we used in case you are on the hunt for something to use on this aluminum. So because this has not been painted or anything, we were worried about it actually like attaching to the aluminum. So we saw some other people use Kills primer, so that's what we used because that's what we used in our house and we really like it. It's not expensive. There was some people that was talking about etching and using just like some fancier things, and we didn't want to do all that, so we did see some people use this that had some bare aluminum that they were painting, and they said it took 3 coats for them to do. So I'm not sure if it's going to take us 3 coats. It really looks so nice, especially in the spots that I overlap. So we're just going to see, and if we do, then we will. It'll just take an extra day. But yeah, so that is what we're using for the primer. I'll get into more of how we're going to do the final coat and what we're using for the final coat on that day. But I did want to share that we were using brushes and this Kills for the primer. So I just wanted to share that knowledge. So let's get into day 2 because we have a long one. It's going to be another hot one. It was almost 100 degrees yesterday, and in this camper it is so extremely hot. We have the windows open. Wade had a little fan going. It still doesn't do anything. You're just soaking and like you're just covered in your own sweat, and it's just disgusting. So it's 9 o'clock. The sun's already beaming. It's already hot, but we're just going to try to get as much done today as we possibly can and bring you guys along. I also forgot to mention, before we actually painted the aluminum walls with that first coat, I wanted to clean off all the aluminum. So with each section, I just used some all-purpose spray and a rag and just wiped everything down nice and clean so the paint would stick even better. So Wade and I just tackled the second coat, and we look lovely, I know. But I think we're gonna get cleaned up and relax a little while. Probably go to the store because we need some more paint. We've went through all of our paint. And then I think we may possibly do the third coat. We do need a third coat. Do the third coat tonight, so then tomorrow we can do our final coat. I don't know.
Welcome back. It's another day. It's a little bit cooler today. It's supposed to be some storms rolling in, so we didn't want to do too much. We did get the camper all primed, 3 coats of primer in that thing, and it looks pretty daggum good. So next step on the inside is just to paint it. But before we do that, I need to make the window sills for the inside, the trim. So Samantha had already primed the plywood that we had bought that we was going to trim out the windows with. So now I'm fixing to just cut them into strips. I don't intend on installing any of them today because I just don't know what the weather's going to do. It says it's going to rain. It says it's going to rain later today, but usually it doesn't rain at all. That's just how it works. But it is a little cloudy, so knowing me and given my luck, it's going to rain. So I have went ahead and measured out the first window, so I'm going to cut the strips for it, and I'm fixing to go measure all the other windows just to make sure that they're all the same. They should be. So if that works out, then that's great. That's less cutting I have to do. So let's walk inside and I'll show you what I'm fixing to measure. Okay, this section here where my finger is, that is the section that I have measured and I'm going to cut the strips for. So I have to cut it for this window, and I'll need to cut it for the other 2 windows, that one there and that one there. Yeah, and one thing is I don't have a table saw, so this is kind of what I've made up here. Just a 2x4. I've measured the ends here to make sure that they're the same distance apart. And then first I put my skill saw up there to make sure how far back I needed my guide, and then I measured both ends. Now I can only find one of my clamps, so I gotta keep searching for my other C-clamp so that I can clamp this and make sure that it doesn't move, and then I'll start cutting these. Okay, so after cutting a few pieces for the first window, I did not like the way that it was turning out, so I went ahead and just stopped, and we're gonna revisit this again somehow. Using metal trim was an option before. I just got to figure out how to make a really good clean bend, so I may do some research on that and figure that out, because I've got plenty of metal, and in my opinion it would just look a lot better than what I was just doing with all that wood. So I haven't told Samantha yet, so I'm fixing to go in there and tell her that this idea is off, and let's start researching another one. Good morning, everybody. It is another cool day. Time to finish working on the windows. So we spent a great amount of time yesterday at Home Depot and Lowe's going back and forth trying to figure out what the best option was to frame in the inside of the windows. And after looking at a few things, we decided to go with like this vinyl plastic trim. You can get it in various outside corner sizes. This is the largest that they had. And then there's flat pieces, and then it just gets wider from there. So this is what we decided to use on like the original windows. And then the two larger windows were the same L outside bracket or outside piece, but just not as wide, so they were a little bit smaller. So I've went ahead and cut everything for the 4 main windows, and I'm fixing to start cutting the smaller pieces for the 2 end windows, the front and the back, and get those installed. And I'll just kind of show you kind of what it looks like. It's just kind of shoved in there. It's not in place yet. There's still some gluing and some caulking that has to be done. And then I'll show you the process which I use to make sure that I got these things cut and cut to my liking. Okay, so first, that is a window there. So like I said, it's just shoved in there. I've got to, I'm gonna see if I can brad nail some of it down and then glue the rest with F26. And then in these corners right here, we will have to put some flexible caulk right there, and then let it dry. And then Samantha's gonna come through here and paint everything. So, and then that one there. And then this side, kind of, it fell down. But there's the pieces in the floor there. And then Samantha had to do some touch-up paint, so she's got this window taped off, but this is the one that's going to have the flat piece, like so. And it'll just basically glue onto the aluminum. So that window there, that's taped up, and this front window here is what I'm going to use, the smaller outside corner pieces. So I've got to get those cut. Okay, so it's not rocket science, the tools that I used. I'll just kind of lay them here, and then I'll go over what each one of them, the role each one of them played. Basically, I had my box knife, I had my speed square. Now this one, you can actually move this around to which degree you want to cut. Let me see if you can see it better. So I've got it on a 45 degree. My regular speed square, my tape measure, the only pencil I could find, and a coping saw, which I didn't use this much. So I would just measure out the length that I needed. I would put my speed square where it needed to go. I would make my mark like so, and then I would just take my other speed square and make a straight line across. And then once I had this marked, let me see if you can see that better. Yeah, once I had this marked here, that's my cuts, I cut everything with my box knife. Now I did have my gloves on. I didn't bring those out, but I will get them here in a minute. And basically you just put some pressure and you could score it, and then just do it a couple times more with a little bit more added pressure, and it would cut right through it, because these things are very easy to cut. Now you could use a jigsaw, or you could use this coping saw. About the only time I used this is once I was done with this piece and was ready to cut another piece. I would just cut it down square. I would just lay it here and basically just you know, just cut like so until it was done. So, and really not much force behind. Make sure it's cut. And there you go. And see how easy that was? Now, on a couple pieces, not very many, I would take a piece of sandpaper and I'd just go over it, make it smooth, but for the most part, this knife did the trick. So now that I've showed you all the tools that I've used, I am going to start cutting some of my other pieces here. Okay, so I've installed all of the trim pieces for the windows except for one. So I was going to show you what I was doing to make sure that they are permanently installed, and that's using F26. So all you need is this and a caulk gun, which I've got right over there, and then apply it loosely on there and shove it in there and let it dry. It doesn't take long to dry, and it makes a pretty tight bond. So I'm fixing to install the last window trim, and I'll show you. Okay, I'm going to start on the bottom here. So basically, you will just apply your F26. Oops. These narrower pieces, a little bit tougher. So you just do that all the way down. And then I'm going to apply a little bead through here just to add a little bit to the front. And just like that. Now I'm just going to put this in here. And then press it on there pretty good. It'd be great to be able to just apply some pressure on it and let it sit with some pressure while it dries. But I'm hoping that by putting the sides and the top on, that it works just like the others and it creates pressure while it dries. Alright, so I'm letting that window that I just F26'd into place dry for a while. And before I did that, and after the other windows had dried and had set in place, I decided I would help Samantha out and caulk some of the outside areas of the windows. So we wanted to use, since it is a camper and it does have a lot of movement, something that is extremely flexible. So I went to Home Depot and got some of this DAP Extreme Stretch. Says it is 600% total strength. 600% total stretch. They have it in different colors. Of course, I got white. Paintable in a couple hours, even though we're not going to paint until tomorrow. Crack proof and waterproof, interior or exterior, and basically adheres to anything you put it on. So I am not the best person at doing this, but I did want to help Samantha out and free up some of her time. So let me kind of show you some of the areas that I did. So I did not do anything on the front of the frames or on the inside. I was going to let her do that because that's more technical and tedious stuff. I kind of just tried to do what would be easiest for me. So I just went around the edges or the outside corners. So yeah, it's not even really noticeable So I think I did a really good job on most of everything I did. Now, there's the side. Which these areas had massive gaps right here because the wall was curved, and I did not want to, well, one, I didn't have enough time to just stand there and hold the F26, and I still wanted a nice straight square window frame, and I did not want to put things through here like brad nails and stuff. So it's not that bad, especially not in person. It looks a little bit different on the camera, but we're gonna see how that works. I think it's gonna work well. Here's the other side. I don't know if you can really see much here, but that's one window I did, and here's another one. So overall, I think I did a really good job. We'll wait until the boss lady gets home. She's the expert. She'll let me know if I did a good job or not. I will tell you that I made an absolute mess. I've used a rag, a half a roll of paper towels, and I've got it all over my hands. So that's another reason why I don't like caulking things, because I make a disaster of the area that I'm working in. But I'll show you one more here before she gets home. So there we go. Nice straight bead.
I definitely approve. I very much appreciate Wade's help with the caulking, because typically painting and caulking is my task, and I don't like it. So I'm gonna finish up these last little bits. There's not much for me to do, but yeah, we'll get that done, and then tomorrow we get to do the final coat.
Yeah, the top coat of paint.
The top coat of paint.
Okay, so we're done caulking everything. We are going to wait until tomorrow so it's fully dried and see how it turned out. And if everything's good, we're gonna tape up all the windows and get ready for Samantha. She's gonna use the paint sprayer for the first time.
I've got a suit and everything. I don't know if we mentioned that we were using a paint sprayer.
Okay,
I had mentioned back a couple of days ago when I was doing the primer that we would talk about the equipment that we was using for the final coat. So I actually haven't mentioned that. But yeah, we bought a paint sprayer, and we're gonna be using it for the first time for the final coat. So we'll see how that goes.
We're gonna make some practice runs first on some old metal. Just to make sure.
Wish
so
me
we'll
luck.
see you tomorrow.
Yeah, wish me luck.
Okay guys, today's the day we actually try to do our top coat of paint. I say we, Samantha. But I'll show you the products that we have already. I've got my paint thinner, my mineral spirits. I've got Samantha a Tyvek suit so that she doesn't ruin her clothes and get paint all over herself. Some rubber gloves. She's got a mask in the camper, and then this paint sprayer. Fixing to mix the paint, get it in this canister here. Got like a sheet of metal to practice on so Samantha can practice spraying these things.
Basically, we got the gist of it. I'm gonna put this suit on and get to it. The windows are blocked off, so I don't know how bright it's gonna be. That's why I'm trying to get to it as fast as possible, because we're gonna end up losing daylight, and we don't have much light in here. So yeah, wish me luck. Finally, we are done painting. It looks so nice and crisp inside this camper. It was so dark and dingy for so long, and finally we have nice, clean, crisp walls. Honestly, for using the paint sprayer for the first time on the camper, kind of in the dark because of the windows being covered up, I didn't think it was too bad of a job. It looks really good. The coat, like the finish is really nice. We ended up picking the color Swiss Coffee by Valspar, and we ended up getting the satin finish. We didn't plan on getting satin. We wanted eggshell, but they didn't have eggshell in the color that we wanted, and we did not want to wait and order that. So we ended up choosing satin, and we are very happy with the outcome. I was really worried about it, worried about using that paint sprayer, and it worked out so good. And it also was done so quick. So we ended up doing 2 coats with the paint sprayer of the final coat, and it really didn't have to have that second coat, but we just wanted to make sure, since it was kind of dark, that we went over it completely. So it did take 2 coats, so all in all 5 coats of paint. So now that we are done with the paint, we are on to the next step. Thank you guys for following along. We will see you in the next one. Bye!